Okay, I'm gonna call the meeting to order. I want to welcome our guests in here from Rockford Sexual Assault, and also I'm going to take roll call at this point. Dr. Copeland,
Present.
Dr. Ciardini,
Present.
Dr. Gorski is absent. Dick Hooter,
Present.
Wendy Larson Bennett, she is absent. Tim Neighbors, he's expected momentarily. Linda Sanquist here. Jason Fulcom
Here.
and Marianne Abadi here. Okay, moving on, we have no public comment today, and welcome. Tim Neighbors. I just took roll call, so if you want to for the records. Present. We have, as I indicated, we don't have any formal presentations. We have a family consultation that'll be just having a discussion or answering our questions regarding their funding. And also we'll move on to the monthly activity report for November. Jason, do you want to just highlight a few things?
Yeah, we have a lot of updates this month with Nicole coming on and taking on the management of the grants program. We have now started the site visits for funded programs. Each of the board members was offered the opportunity to sign up to participate in a select number of site visits. We can do 2 board members at a time without getting into an open meeting. So if you have not already done so, I'd encourage you to select a couple of the organizations that you might be most interested in participating in a site visit, and Nicole will be continue to coordinate those, and we've already done some of those, so that's going well. The environmental scan 2.0, the new one, has been administered, and we've gotten over 50 completed responses now, which exceeds our completed responses from the first time we did it. We believe that we still have more of those that are coming in, so that really launches our strategic planning process, and we will continue to give you updates as we go through that, and then eventually schedule that open meeting board after the retreat to establish priorities sometime likely in the summer of 2023. We have for you laid out on the table a program year 2022 to 2023 handout. So these are now, we have officially signed contracts for all 30 programs for the new program year that was awarded in June. And you'll see the program descriptions now for each of those 30 programs in this handout. If you would like handouts for any particular type of community event, it is linked on the website, but we'll be putting through an order to do some print on a little bit of a higher quality paper for things that we strategically want to hand those out at. So just let me know if you ever have that need for an event that you're attending as a mental health board member, and we could get those prepared for you so the community can continue to learn about all of the programs we're funding.
But Jason, we can make copies of this.
And you can make copies of that.
Okay, and it's, so it's public.
Yeah, it's on the website now as well, so
Okay.
people can go get a PDF version of that on the website under the funded programs tab on the
Okay.
mental health board
Great.
page. Yep. And lastly, we had the first, I was appointed as a representative for the mental health board to the regional CESA committee. CESA is the legislation that is mandating or limiting the participation of law enforcement in mental health crisis response. And so that, in combination with 988 being implemented, is creating opportunity and also some confusion about who's doing what, how is dispatch happening. Myself and Joan Lodge from Rosecrans and Danielle Angelari from NAMI have been appointed to the Region 1 CESA committee. There's other representatives from our local area as well. And so we had that first meeting, which took place on December 1st, and have started the conversation. about what the planning process will look like for ensuring the coordination of crisis response services for our area. So continue to keep you updated on that, and certainly can bring back that feedback loop both ways. So things that we are learning from the programs we're funding to bring that intelligence and information back to the regional task force. And then finally, we have the ACMI business winter meetings last week, Thursday and Friday, and Tim was able to go with us and interact with some of the other mental health boards and see the work that's being done throughout the state, and have the opportunity to hear from some state leaders in children's mental health. That was one of the focuses of this particular business meeting this time around. And it also was the 50th year anniversary of ACMI as well, so got an opportunity to celebrate with a larger network this year.
And you were sworn in as vice president.
Yeah,
You were,
sworn in as vice president of ACMI.
right?
Wow.
Believing that.
And I was sworn in as a vice president. Thank you. Yeah, so it's nice to be part of the leadership of that. Learned so much from them, and being part of that network, of course, really gives us the opportunity not only to coordinate legislative agenda across the state that affects our local mental health providers, but also we learned so much from what others are doing. And from day one, I think we've just been able to get up and running so much quicker by borrowing and learning from what other mental health boards have done. That concludes my activities right there.
Okay. Moving into our action items, I'm going to take number 5 on your agenda and move it to right now, so that our guests can, are you going to present something to the board to begin with?
Would you like, would the board like a kind of a
How,
presentation?
Jason, this is a resolution of authorizing funding programs, the budget update for the year 22-23. And there's been some changes requested by Rockford sexual assault, and basically that you're here to explain or answer questions, correct? So, and all that information was in your packet, but if you want to just, I know that salary was part of this, and an outreach therapist or worker. So do you want to just kind of update the board on what you're doing?
Marion, do you want to maybe take a motion to move that in the agenda?
Okay. All right, so first of all, we will need a motion because we're gonna.
I move that we make an adaptation in order for the meeting.
And we need a second.
You got it.
Okay, Gary, thank you. Dick, thank you. And the discussion will begin now.
Is it helpful for the board for me to go up here? or-
Sure, okay. If you want to use the podium, that's great.
Well, so just to introduce myself, I'm Erica Engler. I am the executive director of Rockford Sexual Assault Counseling. The Winnebago County Mental Health Board funds 1.3 full-time equivalent therapists for our outreach therapy program that goes into the different schools. And since we've been funded by you guys, we've gone into 7 different high schools, 8 middle schools, and then 3 alternative schools in the area. Just this fiscal year, we've already had 75 clients in the program. So we're busy, and so that's good. And that amount of clients as of June is 13% of our total clients that we do serve at our staff. So we appreciate the board supporting us, and we appreciate hearing our resolution today. I'm going to turn it over to Bridget because it mostly deals with the numbers and everything. She is our content. But thank you for this time.
Thank you.
My name is Bridget Coleman, and I am a CPA, and I work with Rockford Sexual Assault in their financial area. We certainly do appreciate the funding that you have provided for us, and the second year. Initially last year, we received $43,000 in funding. This year, the second year of your programming, we received grant funds of $75,000. So with that increase, we just want to make sure you're aware of how influential your dollars are and the impact they have on us. The majority of funding from RSAC comes from a federal grant passed through to the state of Illinois. The organization's name is ICASA, which stands for
Illinois Coalition Against Sexual Assault, and they, as Bridget said, they're the pass-through funder for VOCA, VAWA, and ARPA, which are all federal funding, and then the state, Illinois state general funding. And so they do the pass-through, and there are policy and governance to the 30 sexual assault centers throughout Illinois.
And so from ICASA for fiscal year 23, it's about $1,023,000. And there is a requirement that every organization that receives fund must get a 10% match. So the 10% match for fiscal year 23 is $102,000. And the funding that we receive from the Winnebago County Mental Health Board represents 74% of that. So we do receive a significant amount of federal funding, which requires a local match. So your dollars allow us to do that. In previous years, our funding from ICASA was lower. So proportionately, the match was lower. Just like every other organization, we lose funding, example from other agencies. So this was very critical and very timely for us to be able to continue to offer without losing any of our dollars. So that's just kind of a summary of your impact, which we wanted to make sure that you were aware of how integral that is to our organization. I know that in your package, you did have the resolution, but just a summary of that. Your fiscal year is May 31st. Our fiscal year is June 31st. So for the first time, we were trying to, as we went through our budgeting process, do a simple calculation, which would have been drop 1 month and add another month on the end. And I will say, as we were going through that, there was an error in how we included that 1 month of fiscal year. So that's primarily the reason we're requesting. And so to simplify that, we realized that as we move through our fiscal year, we're always looking at, because we have such a significant portion of federal funding and are reporting back where we are as a percentage and year to date, and realized back in October that something was off with Winnebago County. It should have been ratably. We brought that to attention to Jason and discussed how we would make the changes or the proposed recommendations. Because of your dollar amount line items, which are $3,000, I believe, requires us to come back to you and request the change. That was primarily the impact of the error. So we still fully fund. Our FTEs have not changed. So our wages are the same, our benefits are the same. So what that does is, for that particular line item, it is not correct. And in order for us to continue to receive funding and report back to you accurately, we're requesting that revision. And for those changes, it would move primarily from the salaries line item, and we would move that to occupancy. Again, as we were new and doing this, we were very frugal. We didn't want to feel like we stood out. We didn't want to ask for too much. However, as we're learning from our existing funder, they do education to make sure that we know what's allowable, what's not. It's on a continual basis. Occupancy is one that once you receive federal dollars, you're required to allocate to all funds that you receive indirect costs. We had not done that in our application. It's not an error, it didn't change, but now that that dollar amount may open up in that line item, we would be able to allocate. So that's an internal, it's just an allocation. Before this, we just absorbed it, we ate it. When we submit next year, we will be fully including all of those amounts. But in the request for the line item revision, we wanted to make sure that those are allowable dollars that you previously funded. It is a line item. It is not one that we had in our original application, but it is one that we would like to use those excess funding to go, assuming that you will approve those line item changes. So we can answer any questions about that.
I do have one. I see that in the line one, the salaries, that there is a decrease of 4,645. And then also a decrease in line two on the fringe benefits of 1,075. So you said salaries didn't change or anything, so why the decrease?
The amount that we have budgeted is approximately 5,000 per month. That's what it would have been ratably. My error in looking at the fiscal years, I would be below by 1 month. So,
Okay.
so approximately 1 month of
Okay.
salaries was not calculated correctly in the original budget that was submitted.
All right, all right.
And then correspondingly, that's healthcare, FICA taxes and all of that. So we're fortunate that our employees are able to participate in the healthcare plan.
Make a motion that we approve.
We already have that motion.
Sorry, the motion was to. move it to the
discuss.
agenda, I think.
That was.
Oh,
that
move
was
the agenda, okay,
Yes.
go right ahead.
So, I'd like to make a motion that we allow for the revision, budgetary revision for Rockford sexual assault to correct the fiscal year. Second.
Yeah, thank you. We have a first and second, any further discussion?
You do good work. It is worth it. It's worth it.
And we really can't, I know Bridget touched on it already, but the federal government, they love to see the local support and everything, and we really can't overestimate how much, you guys supporting us with the dollars that you support us with. It's, we say 1.2 FTE, but, we're talking about the 75,000, keep 750,000 in our community, and that supports all of our programs, really. So we really do appreciate it. It's 2 months for us, it does.
Okay, thank you for your explanation. I'm going to do a roll call, based on, we have a motion to approve in a second. Dr. Copeland.
Aye.
Dr. Giardini,
Yes.
Dr. Belkorski absent, Dick Cooner,
Yes.
Wendy Larson Bennett absent, Tim Neighbors,
Yes.
Linda Sanquist, Mary Ann Abadi, yes. So the motion is approved. Thank you very much.
Thank you all.
So that's it. Just leave us now.
Did you want them to sing?
No, I'm just. That's the story of my life. We can walk out of my life all the time. Thank you for coming today. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you all, we appreciate
Thank
you.
you. Okay, moving back to the top, the action items, I'll need a motion for approval of our November 2022 meeting minutes. Second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Same sign. Negative, okay. Moving on to the action item number 2, notice of funding opportunity program year 23-24. Jason, would you wanna?
Yeah, I'll briefly summarize. Most of this all of this has already been discussed by the board and is a function of previous decisions that have been made, including the approval of the budget for up to $20 million now and
Yeah.
grants for this next program year, and also the work plan, which included the addition of an abstract process this year for new applications. So all of that is now memorialized in this notice of funding opportunity, and dates have been established for this process, which includes December 8th, notice of funding opportunity being published, that would be tomorrow, and that December 12th, which would be Monday, that the applications portal would open for both the abstracts for new applications and also the renewal abbreviated application for the renewals. Something that did change this year, an additional change from this year from last year, is that we took the board members' feedback on some of the confusion on the scoring rubric for renewal programs. It worked really well for the new programs, but then when we were reviewing renewal programs, it didn't. A lot of the questions were the same, but they didn't
Right.
necessarily all make sense in lieu of it being an updated year. So we adjusted that scoring rubric to make it a little bit more qualitative and more focused on what the programs had done over the course of the year, not necessarily going back to their original vision. And we have a scoring, more of a qualitative scoring rubric for the abstract review as well, while keeping the original scoring rubric from last year for the full new applications to keep everybody consistent on that same process that other programs have had to go through to receive their initial funding. So those are the changes this year. The entire process, if we're looking at it from application to decision, the renewal programs will be essentially on the same timeline. Because we're adding in that abstract process, the renewal programs, once they've gone through an abstract, and then if they're asked to do a full application, those will be an abbreviated program year, and so it'll align with the beginning of the second quarter of the program year, so they'll get 9 months in the first year, and that's just to offset the reviews so that board members aren't doing, you know, an enormous number of reviews all at once. That would be overly burdensome.
That's great. I noticed that May would be our final approval. Right?
May will be the funding decisions for the renewals, and then August would be the funding decisions for new applications, the full new applications. There would be in between there, the decisions for abstracts to receive an application. That would happen in March.
In one question I have is, and the abstract required for all potential new programs?
Yes.
Okay,
And then you're having meetings for potential grant requests.
Yes, so we have, what we've done in the past and what we're continuing for this year, what we have proposed to do would be to have a pre-recorded grant seekers information session, both for the new application and a separate one for the renewal, so that you're getting the targeted information you need. And then we release those on the day that the application goes live, so people have that immediate information. We have a long presentation. And then we, separate from that, have question and answer sessions scheduled. When you're processing information for immediately, sometimes you think you have questions that maybe once you've thought about it, you don't. So we put a little gap in between that information session until then the question and answer session. And it also allows for people to submit questions in advance, so we can be more prepared to have the correct answer for them at those sessions. So we have all that scheduled, so it's 2 grant seekers information presentations, and then we have 2 grant seekers question and answer sessions.
The presentations are going to be on what dates are they?
Those will go up on the YouTube page and the website the day the application opens, which will be Monday,
Monday.
the 12th.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
so I will need a motion for approval of this notice of funding opportunities.
So,
Here.
Go ahead, Dick. I don't want to.
second, no,
Okay, so we have a motion and a second to approve the notice of funding opportunity program year 23 and 24. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Same sign. Okay,
nice going.
very nice. I mean, there's a lot of work involved in this, and I appreciate
Yeah,
all the
and-
information.
If we're gonna give thanks, I gotta say, you know, to Nicole coming on board. And having to take on an already established vision of not just repeating the process, but improving the process. It was a lot, and you know, of course, the nicely branded documents are
Yes.
always Chelsea's handiwork. So for both of their
Yeah.
leadership on this, it was.
Love the flow chart.
Thank you, Nicole and
Yeah.
Chelsea,
Yeah,
for your work.
very much.
We appreciate it. Okay, moving on now to the funding policy updates for program year 23 and 24.
Okay. So you'll see a red line version of the updates. So you're welcome to ask me any questions. I'm going to highlight the major changes that are being proposed. So number one would be many funders, including most federal funders, have an allowance of about a 10% budgetary over or under. We started off with $3,000 as just a threshold. That so again, RSAC came in here today because they had a request for a budget change that was more than $3,000 in one particular line item. On a small program like theirs for $75,000, that is appropriate. For a program that's $2 million to have a $4,000 line item change, that's maybe 0.1% of a line item is excessively administrative burdensome, you know, to justify those changes. So rather than dictating that in the funding policy, though, those really should be dictated in the funding agreement. So we're not putting the funding agreements forth today, but I would recommend that we make that change in the funding agreements in the future. And so what this change here in the funding policy allows is that we can dictate those things in the funding agreements moving forward, so we can have further discussion, but we don't necessarily need to have that dictated in the funding policy. The second change would be moving from a quorum of board members for each grant review to 3 board members for each grant review. We now have 30 renewals. We're going to have more new applications. I think there's any additional value from 3 people reviewing it and giving qualitative feedback to 5 people reviewing it and giving qualitative feedback. Every board member already gets the opportunity to review any application that they want to, ask questions about it, discuss in an open board meeting. So 3 seems to be, again, for a number of applications we're reviewing, a more appropriate number to keep things moving and keep the burden on each board member. Lastly would be, already by practice, we have had any type of budget amendment or funding decision amendment come to the full board. Our funding policy gave the president all of that authority, that the president of the board could make any decision about contract amendments, including funding decisions, that even including increasing the award of the program. By practice, we have brought all those things to the board, and so this proposes to formalize the practice, which is anything that is a contract amendment that includes a change in the funding amount, but that come to the full board, that the president not have the ability to independently make that decision. So like the president not say, I can take $1 million award and I can just increase the contract to 1.5. That would be the last, and that was at the advice of legal counsel.
Right.
Nice.
No, I won't be doing it.
And
I was gonna-
to that point, Mary Ann has always, and any time I've brought that to her, she's always said, let's bring that to the full board. So that's already been a practice.
Yeah.
And those are the changes.
There was one more right above that, said something about striking in the case of 6-month reconciliation.
Yeah, on our first round of funding, we had allowed for quarterly advance payment, which required a 6-month reconciliation. We have changed that to make a default for monthly and reimbursement for all agencies, unless they come to the board and ask for advance payment as a special consideration. Only one of the 30 funded programs receives an advance payment, and that was Youth Services Network. And we had already changed that to a trimester, so every 4 months instead of every 3 months advance payment. There's a really practical reason. the fiscal year for the county, which we're on that same fiscal year, ends in September. Okay, that's the last month of the fiscal year. Our program year starts in June, so June, July, August, September. The first 4 months end at the fiscal year, so when we're doing reconciliations, we really need to know those first 4 months to close out the fiscal year budget. So it's just a little nuanced thing where the first time we went through it, it created problems where we had some organizations on a quarterly cycle. And then we had to figure out that September month differently so that we could get the county all the information they needed to close out their fiscal year.
Guys.
So this just, in that change that already happened last year, there was this carryover of the language in case of the 6-month reconciliation, which does not exist. So it's just scratching that from the formal policy, which already does not exist in practice.
Okay, so I will.
Was that bureaucratic enough for everyone?
Beings.
It's very helpful.
Yeah, actually, it's better to know the details,
Right.
so we don't just assume, but that's good.
All right, I need a motion for approval of the funding policy updates. Pam, thank you. And me,
I'll second.
And Linda Santos. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Opposed, same sign. Thank you. Moving on to our last action item. This is the Winnebago County Mental Health Board Program Year 23-24 disqualification list. And it's in the packet, and of course, that involves the board and members and any other boards that you're on. Those agencies would be disqualified. So I know Jason has communicated very well with us to make sure that, you know, the information is updated and accurate. So I will need a motion for approval of that disqualification list for the 23-24 year.
So.
Hey. That's quite a few, but Dick, I heard first, and Dick Winner first, and Linda Sanquist second.
Yeah, third, I third.
Oh, and I'm sorry. And Dr. Copeland, not even.
You're a little over that.
Terry, this, motion.
I know I was poking them, come on.
So,
I know.
no further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, that wraps up our action item voting. I have nothing under discussion items. How about you, Jason? Was there anything to be added at this point?
I did not, Mary, did you want to discuss maybe the board meeting?
And maybe that's,
time that we're
this
meeting?
is other matters I was going to, but it doesn't matter, either. It would be fine. I just wanted to bring to your attention that for the last few board meetings, we're waiting for people to come. And we're wondering if we're gonna have a quorum. So I know that we are going to have, Jason, what actually is that called? The updated, what's the name of that document?
It's kind of like a board member onboarding packet. So for new board members that are appointed, it has kind of like all of in one place. We borrowed this from Madison County. They do that for all their board members. So it'll be a reference for every board member to in one place have all the information you need as a board member, but have new board members to also onboard to the requirements of the board member.
And that'll be available in January, did you
I
say?
believe so, yeah. We're hoping for that. We had numerous recommendations from legal counsel. We're just trying to update in the packet.
Okay.
We have it ready to go. It's just getting all the tiny details in order.
So the idea is that the board members should not miss more than 3 meetings during the year. But most importantly, if you're not going to come, just let Jason, anyone on the staff know, so we can be prepared for whether or not we have a quorum. So that's my spiel on that matter. So, there are no other matters unless other, yeah.
I just, wanted to talk about my meeting going to attend to the, ACMI,
Good.
event, and it was a wonderful event, you know, it was good to see Jason and Chelsea and Nicole work in their environment, you know. The Winnebago County Mental Health Board has a lot of respect from the state of Illinois, and they do a lot of work down there. It was good to see them. Everybody's all excited, you know, Chelsea does a lot of work down there too. And
Networking.
Yeah, networking. On different committees too as well. So both of them are on other committees that, you know, and Jason was on the committee as well before he got elected vice president, and it's just really good to see them go to work out there.
Well, I just want to thank you for attending. That really is a great representation for our board to have a member there and be
Yeah.
active and get to meet people, so.
And there was notice to all the other board, everybody else is like, we never get any board members come down.
I bet.
So you represent.
And we thank you.
Yes, no kidding.
He wore his swag too. He had his swag on the suit jacket.
Yeah, mental health, sure.
Great, you really represented us well. Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
It's a good thing why you go then.
Oh, you had,
Now, that's true. I think it's a great thing.
you had a great story. The whole environment said it had their name written all over it.
Yes, I can see that. It's time.
Every year, the December meetings are in Chicago, so as we're putting our budget together for next year, if additional board members would like to attend. One of those, they also have one in Springfield in the spring, but it's always when the legislators are not in session, so it's a long drive to not get any additional added networking benefit. It's just not timed well, and then they have one in Bloomington, I think, each year, so yeah, if any board members ever want to attend one of those events, please let me know and make sure to budget that for next year, the additional travel expense. There's no cost for registration.
I met one of his classmates who was also on the roster, Sandra Somerville.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so she was there. She was
Wow. You said you owe her money. See, I was gonna go next year.
Okay.
I move for adjournment.
Yeah. I said, yeah.
Second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.